Hello, Internet! I'm Elliot the Purple-Haired Doofus, and welcome back to The Wastelands by Stephen King. Today we're covering the entire story of The Key and the Rose. I hope you've read it yourself, because I do not want to ruin anything for you. This story takes us all the way back to the time when Jake was killed in our world. And it basically tells his story and how he is affected by the same kind of split that Roland is. And it starts 3 weeks after the incident was supposed to happen, and how Jake is at school, and Jake is just in utter turmoil because his brain is just telling him, you're dead, you're alive, you're dead, you're alive, you're dead, you're alive. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I get it. Okay, let's move on. Jake goes to this really prim and proper private school, and his father keeps on emphasizing to him that money won't get you into this school. Being smart and having smarts is the only way that you can get into this school. So when he's sitting down with the final, I believe it's week or 2 weeks of school left, and he has a 4.0 grade point average, and he looks at his final essay that he's supposed to turn in for English class, and he doesn't ever remember writing it. It reads like gobbledygook, because the question of the essay is to define truth. He has no memory of writing it, and he opens it up and it says, Roland is truth. The door is truth. Finding the tower is truth. And he reads it and he has no idea what it means. So he fears that if he turns it in, he's going to be seen as crazy. So he excuses himself and the teacher lets him go. And rather than going into a bathroom, he just walks out of school. And the entire time, what he's trying to do is find the door to get to Roland's world. And then the story kind of backtracks to the same morning that he was supposed to die, and he is experiencing strong deja vu. He knows what's in this lady's bag, he knows what this hot dog vendor is going to drink. It gets closer and closer to the moment where he's supposed to be pushed out into the street and run over by, I believe it was a Cadillac. And he's standing there, and he can sense that someone is behind him, but he can't bring himself to turn around and look. He's standing there, and the moment's getting closer and closer and closer, and then it finally gets there, and he's like, ah! And nothing happens. And then he starts acting kind of crazy. He starts believing that he is invincible, and he starts kind of walking across the street even when the light is red, because he doesn't think that he will die. And then we go back to the point where he had left and walked out of school because he was afraid of being called crazy, and he starts running for this area that he believes will have the doorway to get to the other world. And the entire time I'm thinking, don't go through the door now. If you go through the door now, you're going to have to wait 10 years to see Roland again. Because when he died, Roland had that conversation with the Dark Man, or the Man in Black, and then was asleep for 10 years. He Rip Van Winkled 10 years. So if Jake goes through the door now, he's going to have to wait in this desolate, bland future for 10 years to get to a point where he will actually meet Roland. On his way to the door, he runs across a bookstore, and it's a very kind of niche bookstore. It's set up like a restaurant. It's kind of adorable. I kind of want to go there. I kind of want to see this bookstore because it sounds hilarious. But anyways, he goes into the bookstore and he picks up 2 books. One of them is called Charlie the Choo Choo Train, and the other one is a book of riddles. And the reason he picked up the riddles is because in his essay about truth, he had riddles in there. Like the first page that he turns to in the book had one of the riddles that was in his essay, and he finds that the answers that are in the back of the book are all torn out. But anyways, he has these 2 books, and he gets them from the store owner named Calvin Tower. It's just kind of like, I see what you're doing there, Steven. That's a little clever. I'll give you that. He leaves the bookstore and he continues his journey towards the area that he believes the door is at. And he gets to the area and he finds that it has been demolished, destroyed, and it has like this painting that says coming soon, and he has no idea when soon is. But he decides that he's going to go into the area anyways and explore the rubble, see why it brought his feelings had brought him here. And he hops over the fence and twists his ankle and hits his head. And he has this whole kind of dream, half not dream, about stepping on purple grass and seeing a beautiful rose and seeing a shining key with the exact notches that we saw Eddie draw in the dirt after the jawbone was tossed into the fire. He gets up and he kind of sees the blood on the brick, and he's kind of limping along, and he actually finds a key and he slips it into the book Charlie the Choo-Choo. He sees a rose and he knows not to pluck the rose, but he's worried about whether or not it will be harmed by the construction that is going around the area of the rose, and this voice just tells him it's going to be fine. It can protect itself. You don't have to worry. Jake asks the voice if he can come back and visit it sometime, and the voice does not answer. Anyways, Jake limps home after that whole episode, and his parents are pissed because he ditched school. He talks with his parents, and the thing about his parents is they're pretty rich, so he's mostly taken care of by the housekeeper. So when he's sitting in his bedroom after his parents have yelled at him, the housekeeper comes in to check in on him, and the housekeeper actually gives him his blue folder back, which had his essay in it. The blue folder has a couple of notes in it. One from the final that he just walked out on, and it said, you know, people suffer from fever, stress from finals before. When you get better, you can take the test and pass it. And Jake's like, okay. And then he sees a letter about the essay that he wrote. And the teacher thinks it's brilliant. And Jake just cannot stop laughing about this because he thinks that the essay is just complete and utter nonsense. And the teacher even wants to publish the essay in the school newsletter, and it just kind of reminds me of some of the teachers that I had in high school. Not all of them, but some of them were, let's say they were just kind of dropping the ball a little bit. Jake sits down and starts reading the Charlie the Choo-Choo train book. And it's basically the story about an engineer who works on this train that starts talking to him. If you really want to read the entire thing, Stephen King just released a version of Charlie the Choo-Choo Train this year. My mom was pretty pissed because she's like, he wrote a children's book? What the And I was like, I know, sorry, I can't get you a Stephen King book this year. And Jake eventually falls asleep. And that's how the story ends. And I am just so glad that he didn't find a door to walk through, because I didn't want to read about him being bored for 10 years. Do not forget that the next book that I will be reading is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. Go out and grab it by any legal means necessary. Borrow it from a library, borrow it from a friend, buy it at a bookstore, buy it on a Kindle. I don't care what you do as long as it's legal and you read it before I ruin it for you. I've been Elliot the Purple Hair Diffus, reminding you to watch your pajama radius, and I will see you all in the next section of The Wastelands by Stephen King. Toodles!